because there isn't like a...
Welcome to The Hub. I'm your host, Tommy Calautti, and on this week's episode, we'll be discussing the topic of fan experience and student involvement at UMass sporting events on campus. Here with me is Associate Athletic Director for Sales and Fan Experience, Alan Pandiani, to talk about this topic. Alan, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me here today.
So, just to start, I want to ask you about your background. You know, what brought you to UMass, and what path did you take to get here?
Certainly. Well, I am a Commonwealth native. I was born and raised in Worcester, Massachusetts. From there, I was fortunate enough to be a student athlete at Providence College. Shortly after I completed my coursework at PC, I went down and was an employee at the Georgia Institute of Technology, better known as Georgia Tech. And from there, I worked for a sport marketing and revenue enhancement consulting firm called the Aspire Group.
So, after that, I'm assuming you get hired by new athletic director Rob Banford, and you have this position regarding fan experience and sales. This is the first time this position has ever existed in the history of UMass. So, how are you trying to make this position your own and really put your own unique spin on it?
Sure. So that's a great question. When it comes down to it, the best marketers in the world ask people what they want and give it to them. And where my position varies from what was formerly the Associate Athletic Director for Marketing is I'm overseeing any revenue generating activity for UMass Athletics independent of philanthropic giving. So ticket sales, corporate sponsorships, marketing, the box office, etc.
All right, so, with that being said, what are your initial ideas, just baseline what you think could, right off the bat, help UMass Athletics and really get more fans, both community and student, at these games?
Well, historically, it's really been this sort of one-way communication with the fan base at UMass. We need to love our fans back as much as they love us and provide significantly more value in terms of their ticket purchasing experience and driveway-to-driveway experience on game day attending our events, whether they're here in Amherst or at Gillette Stadium in beautiful Foxborough, Massachusetts.
And if you'll allow me to pry for a minute, in some ways, how do you plan on doing that? Some ideas that could really pop in the minds of some viewers.
Sure. So we just completed a rather lengthy fan market research project on our season ticket holder base. And one of the most interesting tidbits of data that we gleaned from it was the people that are coming out to our games are not concerned with price, opponent, any of the stuff that we historically had marketed in the past. What our fans are interested in is that tailgating experience, spending time with friends and family, spending time with their children. So what we need to do is better cater to the needs of our fan base and our prospective ticket purchasers and provide more of a one-off events-based atmosphere for our games at Gillette Stadium this year, as opposed to trying to make it more of a season ticket sell.
Now, building off of that a little, I want to go into some of the technology aspects of this. You and I talked about a little offset. Social media is huge in this day and age, especially with students. Everybody's on their phones walking around campus. And even with regard to see these beautiful cameras and set, how are you guys going to utilize social media and technology to try and make the fan experience better here at UMass?
Certainly. Well, I think when you look at it, our fan base is going to be divided into primarily 4 separate tranches. So you have your rabid UMass fans, you have your families that are coming out, you have some of your, as we call them, heroes, so active or retired military, first responders, police, firefighters, etc. And then you have your young adults, young alumni, recent alumni, whatever you want to say, so as it's not pejorative. We need to do a much better job at segmenting each of those databases within our ticket purchaser universe and sending out offers that really resonate with those people. And getting back to your question in terms of the technology aspect, I'm 28 years old, so I'm a millennial myself, and we've really dropped the ball historically in terms of communicating with people that are age 30 years or below. And we need to do a significantly better job in terms of driving innovative and unique content to our social media channels that's authentic and will really resonate with our under 30 audience that we're trying to get out to games.
Now, when you think about the winter season, you have men's and women's basketball, you have men's hockey, all at the Mullen Center. And we talked a little bit before about technology, some technological advances. Is there anything that could be updated with the Mullen Center that could really inspire some fans to come on down?
Definitely. Well, we're about to go online with a brand spanking new DAS. So that's a distributive antenna system that works with your 4G LTE smartphone. So it was furnished and paid for by, I believe it was Verizon. So historically, the reception, I work there every day, so I know the reception in the Mullen Center has been spotty at best in the past. And once they turn this baby on in the coming weeks, you're going to have like full strength 4G LTE when you're in there. And that's key and critical for us as we move forward into next year, because a lot of the technology in terms of fan engagement and ticketing that I would like to see implemented in the Mullen Center 100% hinges on superb strength connectivity for your mobile device or tablet.
Now, you talked about spotty service, and I was covering the UMass versus VCU game. The coverage wasn't just spotty, the fan section was a bit spotty. Have you seen this winter and this year with also McGurk football, basketball, hockey, have you seen a drop, would you say, in fan attendance, or is this just a stagnant program right now?
No, I think getting back to a point that I said earlier, Tommy, we haven't done a good job at loving our fans back. And I think what you're going to see here implementing over the next month or so, we have a 5-person ticket sales and service team that's going to be getting off the ground here, headed by a gentleman named Doug Bean, who's coming here from Rutgers University, who I just hired 2 weeks ago. And what we're going to be doing is, as opposed to operating on a day-to-day basis with a catcher's mitt on each hand, waiting for everything to come to us and being very reactive, we are going to be supremely proactive in terms of going out, getting group ticket sales where they should be in terms of filling some of those spottiness sections, because I can't control wins and losses of our programs on a day-to-day or game-by-game basis. What I can control is the experience that people are having in our venues and the added value behind their ticket purchasing experience. And with God as my witness, I'm going to make sure that we win in that respect. And this year has been different because I got here 2 weeks before football season started. Okay. So a couple days ago was actually my 6-month anniversary of being on the job here.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And really this year has been about laying all of the groundwork, because as we all know from any construction company, if you don't lay a solid foundation and frame the house properly, it's going to collapse. So we've really been laying that really solid foundation this year and putting all of the structural steel in place, so to speak.
Now, we touched a little bit on technology inside the Mullen Center, making it more interactive. As we talked about, students are social. Humans are social beings. And I asked you already about social media. How pregame, postgame is UMass Athletics going to try and make it more interactive for students with regards to keeping up with the sports and getting to know their teams a little bit better? Certainly.
So right now we have a UMass Athletics specific Snapchat account, UMass Game Day, all one word on Snapchat. Please follow. What we need to do is offer way more peek behind the curtain experiences for our students, because when you think about it, a student, let's say it's a noon game on Saturday next year for UMass basketball, and I'm John Smith from Danvers, Massachusetts, living in JQA. If I'm waking up at 11:45 in the morning or something like that, 15 minutes before the game, what's really going to get me to go over to the Mullen Center to watch that? It's if I have a personal bond or feel this sort of kinship with the guys that are on that men's basketball team or on our women's basketball team or football program, whatever the sport is. And I think the best way to deliver that is through Snapchat. I mean, you look at right now, I think everybody under 35 in the world feels like they know DJ Khaled as a personal friend based off of his Snapchat account. And we need to deliver content that's on par with major keys for UMass Athletics.
I like that there. So just a couple more questions. I want to know, especially with specifics to UMass football, they're moving from the MAC conference because they haven't decided to move all sports into the MAC. We're going independent this year. Although we do have some very high-profile opponents. We have Florida, South Carolina. How do you plan on making football more interactive, especially with the drive out to Gillette? Everybody complains about having to do that. If you're pitching to me, why am I coming to Gillette to watch a football game for UMass?
Sure. Well, Tommy, I can tell you Gillette Stadium is in that upper echelon in the NFL in terms of technological enhancements and fan engagement enhancements. We've had sort of this entire cornucopia of in-venue technology that we historically have not taken advantage of to a high level.
Can you
So,
give us some examples?
well, like live streaming of tweets or live streaming of Instagram pictures that have certain hashtags or are tagged for being at Gillette Stadium based on their geographic services. So I think you're going to see a drastically increased level of engagement in venue, but you're also going to see drastically enhanced programming in and around the venue, both pregame and postgame.
All right, well, we've talked about it really all interview, what we're going to see going forward, but I just want to finish. You're preaching out to every student here at UMass that may be on the fence about going to sporting events. What can we expect in the future that's going to make these events so much better and more interactive for the fans?
Well, I think you're going to see superbly enhanced music content that's going on. I would not be shocked if you saw an actual DJ inside the Mullins Center for most all of our basketball games next year. And at the same time, I went to Providence College, and when I was there, our basketball program was not the best in the Big East Conference. Now, I went back to my alma mater a couple weekends ago when they played number 2 ranked Villanova at that time, and it's way better to get on board with something before it becomes the in vogue thing to do. I would hearken our situation right now to being a Patriots fan in 1995 or 1996 before they sort of rode this entire wave of extreme success. And I would just urge the fans, and specifically the students that are on campus here in Amherst, that your presence at these games makes such a tremendous impact on the level of play of our student athletes. I can't stress that enough.
All right, well, there you have it. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today at The Hub. Alan, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Today, we discuss fan experience and involvement at UMass athletic events. We as students are excited for the future plans for all UMass teams on campus. Thanks for stopping by. I'm Tommy Calautti, and we'll see you next week for another episode of The Hub.